afternoon everybody, and welcome to yet another edition of Tiger TV and Tommy's Tales. This afternoon I am privileged to be joined by our current under-19 coach Brad Berry. Good afternoon Brad, and thanks for coming in.
Good afternoon Tom. One take Tom, I hear it is, so there's no cuts from the producer.
No, and no comments from the producer either. It's just you and me.
That's the one, happy to be here.
Or just you and me getting a little word in somewhere.
That'll be it.
But anyway, let's there won't be too many people at St Mentone Tigers who don't know you, but anyway, let's, as we do with everybody who comes in here, let's go right back to the start and give us a bit of a background of your football career and how you got to love the game and where it all came from.
That's a long way back, Tommy, as you can tell from the colour of the magnificent crest of hair I have on my head these days. It was jet black back in I'll just go back to my St Bede's college days. I made my debut for the St Bede's Old Collegians on the magnificent front oval against the Peninsula Pirates
The old
round
Pirates.
4, 1986. We were lucky enough to salute that particular day. I can give you game by game. I've got to.
No. We will never get out of here. You've got to be out of here by 5. So
86 it was, and lucky enough to work into our senior team about halfway through that year. Best first year player. Just got to love the place, and it's what community sport is all about. So there were players that I played with back then, like Peter Lannon and Sean Gray, and Steve Gray, and Mad Jones, numerous others, Blair Hutchison, we'll get on to later, and now coaching his son.
Yeah, you are. And Mad son.
Life, and you make lifelong friendships through football.
Yeah. And they're all, so basically through that, you've only played football at St Bede's.
So we had the St Bede's Old Collegians up to the magnificent move out to the beautiful Banghome, out the back of Chelsea Heights there.
Great place out there. I played out there.
Some famous victories out there in the mud. Ruined a body or two. So we went out there under the legendary coach and the late great Vern Bogue in the season 1991 out to Banghome. Really hard one, probably suffering the same fate as our neighbouring club, Old Mentonians at the moment. Great school feeder, but magnificent playing fields, but a long way away for the young players that are yet to get their licence. So Banghome in 91, the arrival of Premiership coach Mark Tyquin in 92 saw us participate in the finals that particular year. And ironically, we played, I think, Mazenod at Brindisi Street, of all places, which was a gated finals facility back then, and lowered our colours. The end of that season.
Now, I'll ask the question.
Yes, mate.
As a player,
Yep.
at the end of 92, you guys, obviously in those days, players didn't really get involved in administration or things that were going on.
Yep.
As a player, and obviously behind the scenes in 92 leading into 93,
Yep.
there were merger talks.
Yes.
As a player,
Yep.
how did you feel about that?
Well, as a player, believe it or not, there was a meeting at Banghome in a room not unlike the one we're sitting in now, in the post-season of 92, and I think club power broker Dale Collins, the head of the table. Dale was always very proactive and had great vision for the future. And I recall the discussions that particular evening around the table. Other committee people such as Bernie Beasley were also present, Mick Atherton, trying to think of a few others, but there was certainly the discussion about if we stay here at Banghome, we cannot get the young fellows down. We have a fantastic facility there at Brindisi Street in Mentone, and the Old Mentone Federal team was not travelling too well at that stage, so that's where the discussion started, and they did actually involve the player group or the players that were interested. So I remember myself and Tim Beasley and Peter Lannon and those sort of people attending that particular meeting on that sunny September evening.
So it all went through any which way. We don't need to go into the whys and wherefores, and season 93 starts.
Yep.
And we're St Bede's Mentone Tigers. season 93 ends and we're St Bede's Mentone Tigers premiers.
That's right, Tom. We
Must have been a great year.
It was a roller coaster of the year, a fantastic year. We recruited really well. We've got a player named Anthony Walsh, who was the linchpin of our backline for probably the next 5 to 6 years, Walshy. So regards, mate, if you're watching up there, and we're now residing up in Queensland at Maroochydore.
Half his luck.
Good on him.
Yeah.
Fantastic player, fantastic bloke. So players of that ilk, and to be able to bring the Dean Phoebans and the Mark Joneses and the Dale Diggins, the Mickey Lovejoys, together with the Tim Beasleys and the Peter Lannons and the Brendan Hambridges. A few others from that premiership photo, the Robbie Parsons, the Tony McGeorges, and I could go on. So it looked on paper a super team.
Just one question out of that.
Yep.
As you went through that year, and Tykes was coach, obviously,
Yep.
was it hard for the St Bede's boys and the Mentone boys to gel together, or was it just the fact, we all want to play football, let's have some fun?
Very good question, Tom. I do remember turning up the first night of pre-season, and we're showing our age a little bit. Another great club person that's now left us for the next world. So this skinny red-headed bloke with not much skin left for ink, a lot more tattoos than Dusty Martin. And I thought, oh geez, they're a bit rough around the edges, these boys, but that turned out to be the trainer. That was Andy Goldberg.
But, yep.
He had a heart of gold, Andy, so he welcomed, I think, someone like him that welcomed us with open arms. There was a function pre-season where we all ended up at, it was at the Moorabbin Town Hall, and then we all ended up the stairs at the old Transformers. So that there was a bit of bonding over a little bit of lubrication.
The old Transformers. Yeah. Jeez.
And
the memories, mate. Yeah.
Yes, the pre-season game started, and I'll just finish the answer to that question with we had a pretty impressive side on paper, both teams actually. We went out to Thomastown, the reserves under the great Jack Timmins, and the seniors round 1, 1993 under premiership coach and life member, chairman of the board, president, everything else that Mark Tyquin has done. We go out to Thomastown, so next to the ground is the airport and a great big concrete drain. We thought, yeah, we'll be okay out here. And we got in the cars to come back to Mentone, about 12 goals in arrears. And I remember Walshy.
And 20 flat tyres.
Yep, I remember Walshy saying after that game, oh, I don't know, Enzo, what have I got myself into here? So that was round 1. The Thomastown actually beat us twice that year. They beat us back here at Brindisi Street. There was some great competition that year. Brunswick it was always tough. We got over them by 2 points with Dale Diggins, whose son Louis is now playing at Richmond VFL. Kicked the winning goal to get us over by 2 points.
Bo Morris.
He does play at Bo Morris, but he's a Richmond man, so he's one way over.
Oh, okay. So we're just talking 93 one bit, because we'll get to the 1993 grand final. Because I have a little bit of connection to that, being the VAFA duty officer on the day, and she was a pretty tough game. You really had to fight hard to win it, didn't you?
We saw it, sure did. We got the double chance. We went out to Alec-Gillen Oval, which is the old Brunswick VFA ground, and we played Old Geelong. It was a great rival of ours over the journey back in the St Bede's old collegiate days as well.
Coached by Stuart Glascott.
Indeed, and with the former Richmond full-back Johnny Manton as their first ruck, and we had a bloke called Steve McCarthy that was able to match him. So big Steve, he's a young fella, just finished playing with Dandenong Stingrays.
And that was interesting too, because your field umpire was a mate of mine, also called Steve McCarthy.
Yes, yes indeed he was.
And so probably the big fella got POG that way that day and won the medal.
He did very well. So I'll just rewind at the back for you. The second semi, in magnificent finals conditions. I think a bloke wearing number 54, a left footer that I didn't mention before, a club icon, Matt McGraw. As a fresh-faced 18 or 19-year-old at that stage, he threaded one from the pocket right in front of the interchange bench, and that put us about 6 goals in front 25 minutes into the first quarter. So we won that by 78 points. You like to think in a hand canter.
Yeah.
Old Geelong went back to the prelim final, and we got them in a day not dissimilar to last Saturday.
Yeah.
Raining,
ordinary conditions.
rained all day, rained all week, wet, fantastic old cricket ground. It was in fantastic condition considering, but old Geelong came to play, and they were in front for a long time that day. But Mark Teichmann's coaching, his half-time address was something to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It was way ahead of his time tactically and as far as strategy goes. Made a couple of little adjustments to our game plan. We were able to grind away, and Dean Edwards took a mark at about the 28-minute mark, and a little bloke wearing number 16 just blocked the old Geelong as it sailed over the line. And that put us 2 points in front. The next 4 minutes was just stoppage, runt, dive in, slide in, just keep it in our half. It did actually go into their half, but Walshy to Jones, Jones to the outer wing, got up to the half-forward flank, and another little bloke, number 16.
Yep, same bloke who's sitting next to me here.
That'd be mate. Had the ball and the siren went. And all I can remember is Mark Teichmann with that infamous jumper that he wore that day, charging at me and the big bear hug, and we were premiers in the first year of the merger.
And we went to present you with your medals and your trophy, the cup, and the Heavens Open Day. Did they not? And we had to go into your rooms to do the presentation.
We did the presos in the rooms, and then we weren't satisfied with that, so we came out, and there's some photos here that are still up on the wall in the old club rooms, and they'll take pride of place in the redevelopment. With and I have given him a couple of mentions, but Walshy went ahead and had a shower anyway, so he's doing a lap of honour with a towel around him. And you've got Mark Teichmann there on the shoulders of some of the players in the Premiership Cup in the pouring rain in semi-darkness out there at that famous day at Brunswick.
So moving on from there, how much longer did you play with St Bede's Mentone Tigers?
So I went 93, which is the absolute pinnacle, the highlight. 94 was a hard one. It was the classic case of the Premiership hangover. I think anyone from that era will certainly admit that. And 95 saw us under the new coach Paul Beddoe trying to establish in C grade, and 90 at the end of 94, 95 just about did me. The old and one of my great regrets not continuing to play on, but when you're playing footy for nothing with your mates and you're continuously doing injury rehabs and hamstring rehabs at your lunchtime on Arden Street Oval, because I worked in North Melbourne back in those days. The lure of coaching.
North Melbourne, I could, if my memory serves me right, I can tell you who you actually worked for.
Oh, yeah.
Customs agent extraordinaire back then.
That's it.
Yep.
Spot on, mate, spot on. But even as far back as then, I spoke about his foresight earlier in the interview, and Dale Collins actually approached me as far back as the back end of 95 about whether or not I'd be interested in taking on a coaching role here at St Bede's Mentone Tigers. So that was basically the start of the coaching career.
But before you did that, if my memory again serves me correctly, you went away and coached a couple of years at Old Brighton, did you not?
Yeah, no, we're just a little bit upside down. I coached, so the back end of serious injuries and all that, but not one regret for 1 minute about any of the footy I ever played for St Bede's Old Collegians or St Bede's Mentone. Treasured and lifelong memories, as I said earlier. So stood me in good stead, and the people you meet through community footy, you just don't meet at elite level footy usually. I'm not saying you don't, but community level footy, friends for life, and things that you talk about for life. And we used to joke about what their heads would look like at the 10-year reunion. Well, you should have seen them at the 20.
I think I was here that day, yeah.
So I 96 started coaching the reserves with Beds. Beds was the senior coach. 97 we were lucky enough to go through as we were undefeated, the reserves that year in 97, and our seniors were really humming to go up a grade that year, and they had a recruit from De La Salle by the name of Jack John Tully, who was an absolute superstar. Jumping jack, literally, centre half back, was Walsh to Tully out on the wing of Brindisi, and then a deep 50 entry. So that went over and over again. Unfortunately, on that ill-fated ground, Alec Gillen Oval, we were playing North Old Boys about 2 games from the end of the season, and Jack, unfortunately, again as high as this roof, literally, came down and did an Alex Rance and did his ACL. So we lost one of our big linchpins. So that season ended, I think, 97. We were rolled in the prelim in the seniors, and our reserves, we went through undefeated in the home and away games. There was one game that my great mate Mick Beasley stood in for me and coached at Thomastown, believe it or not. And we claim undefeated because they were goals and goals down, but Mick in a master stroke mastered the wind at 3/4 time, and it was a draw. So technically, they're undefeated. Got to the second semi. We played North Old Boys at Alstonwick Park, and they pulled our pants down. Gave us a nice spanking, which was the wake-up call. Long story short, we lost our centre half forward. 97, we played Monash Blues in the prelim down there at Sandringham Zebras ground. Lost our good centre half forward, like they played a lot of senior footy here, Matt Conley in the first 15 seconds. Friendly fire from our ruckman. But we were able to prevail for him, and that shake-up was what they needed. They started the grand final against North Old Boys, and the famous number 10 Campbell Ross kicked the sealer about 20 minutes in, and we started to celebrate. So that was 97. 98, we had another really strong team. Ted Turner took over as senior coach. Again, the seniors made the finals. I did my job producing numerous senior players for Ted. That's part of the role. It's not about winning seconds flags, but they're good when they come along. So 98, we were able to back it up, and we played the old rival, Old Geelong, that day. And a bloke called Sam Hecker had kicked 8 in the second semi-final, and an already balding bloke by the name of Owen Lawler was playing on the half-forward flank. So when the grand final started, a couple of blokes went to Sam and said, "You're not kicking any goals today, Sam." And Sam's quote at the time, "Owie, you'll love this if you're watching," was, "See that bald, half-bald bloke over there? He'll kick them all." Now, Owie, who's now senior coach at Parky Vultures, former senior coach of St Bede's Mentone, he kicked 4 that day, and the boys hit the front about 5 minutes before half-time and were never headed. So just a terrific win, and some long-term senior players came out of that, like a bloke named Brad Tomlinson was just ferocious, Adam Thompson, some really good ones, Brendan Beasley that played a lot of good footy for us. I could go on and on.
Yeah, but you can't. And through those years, and after those years, the club developed pretty well, and you played a couple of grand finals, came up against a couple of pretty good Whitefriars sides that you couldn't quite beat. And then of course we have the Bevo years. Yeah. And then
rewind one, you missed the other one, which ironically might be our biggest hurdle in the under-19s this year. So at the back end of 98, got my feet under the desk, so to speak, with coaching, and got some really good advice at the time to go and actually coach somewhere else. Because here I am now, but you need to coach somewhere else. So I did go up the road with
Old Brighton.
Current Brisbane Lions midfield coach Dale Tapping, a great mate of mine, got me up to Old Brighton, and we were lucky enough I was up there for 3 years, so I won't go through all those, but we were able to win 2 more flags, 99, 2000, and 2001. Here we are coaching Division 1 19s in 2019. 2001, it was called Section 1 back then. I coached the Old Brighton Section 1 19s to a prelim final. There was a young bloke in that team by the name of Lee Hendra, who's probably now recognised as the best old Brighton player that's ever pulled a jumper on. So regards, Lee, if you're watching.
And a great young man.
Yes, no, terrific young fella.
Good young mate of mine.
He's younger
Not
than us,
now,
Tom.
no,
He's younger than us, though.
but it went away on a few footy trips with amateur rep trips with Lee, and had a lot of fun. And his old man Johnny, who's a fantastic bloke, used to come as well.
Yep.
So moving right on, we'll let a few years
What was Lee's
disappear.
nickname?
I can't remember now.
Poodle.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We go forward now to 2010.
Yep.
Or end of 2009 I was here. 2010, you're coaching the Rezzies again.
Yes,
at
so
St. Reed's.
we went full circle, and 2009 came along, the famous three-peat of Luke Beveridge and his boys, put the club in A grade. And the succession plan back then, which is what we're trying to do now and put all these things in place with Hayes and myself and all the rest of it, was that Bevo handed the reins over to Owie Lawler, that we've already spoken about.
Who had coached 3 under-19 premierships in his own right.
He had indeed.
Through the Bevo years.
He's, it was a fantastic coaching team back then, and Owie's been to the VFL, and he's just got the St Bede's College ACC First 18 team over the line, which they're not easy championships to win either. With
very good.
One of our under-19 players, Nick Greck, is his captain. So it's a very is that the right word? Incestuous sort of little footy world around here in the Bayside.
He'd have a couple of fair assistant coaches though down there in that side, wouldn't he?
Yes, he's got
Guy Martin and Sammy Radford.
Yeah, a couple of so guys. For those that don't know,
A-grade premiership coach in his own right.
So those that don't know, guys, there's some Kevin's old boys coach and a ripper, and Sammy Radford's the Melbourne VFL coach.
Now
or Casey VFL coach.
Yep, and Parkdale premiership coach.
Absolutely. So there's some pedigree.
No wonder they won ACC.
So
pretty hard.
209, Tommy, I went. Owen rang me and said, "Well, let's put the band back together." So at that stage, I had a young family, getting a business off the ground as we all do, and my other hat is obviously, for those that know me, is strength and conditioning, and came in and wore the two hats. So we always like to think through the Bevo years, and even before that and back to the Taekwondo years, as I said, Mark was way ahead of his time. We were one of the few amateur clubs that bothered with a conditioning person or a fitness advisor, they used to call them back then. So I took that on with Owie, and we had a fantastic 3 or 4 years there with some terrific teams, and I know Tom's going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But that started in 2009 with Owie, and his great mate Adrian Connolly was on board that year too.
Correct, he was, and through those years from 2009 to what? When did you give it away? 2014, 2015.
Well, we went 2009, 2010, 2011. Tom was our team manager. Which was a great partnership.
I think I was your team manager the whole way through.
Yes, indeed.
And I think your last year was probably the best year. We had a fantastic side.
We did.
Came home with a wet sail and just didn't quite make the finals. And I think had we have made the finals that year, we'd have gone from the first semi-final to the whole way through.
It was a team, so the team players that played in that team, and there were some very, very good ones.
Yep. A lot of them who are now still playing senior football here.
Absolutely, yes indeed. So we had, talking of wet sail, this is 2011. Luke Porter was the captain. Fantastic captain, Portsy, and he's now running our ice kick program, so he just keeps putting back to the club. Great man, Ports, great competitor. Like his predecessor, a bloke called Mark Lamagno, the consummate reserve grade captain. A little bit of an older head, as hard as a cat's head, look after the young blokes, and at the same time pretty fair football players themselves. So we had that team, and we were second last at round 10. We had to come up with a theme. So that theme, there's still photos floating around that players had to come to the game. This is part of coaching reserves footy. You've got to do it seriously, but make it fun. This made inside football time.
It did.
John A. Nash interviewed me. So we got them to turn up as in a fancy dress. And other teams had no idea what the hell was going on.
No,
And I think,
I
these
think that's
blokes are just taking the piss, but then we come out and play a really impressive brand of footy.
I think we got called the Bogans of Mentone or
Yes.
something, didn't we?
So that reached its pinnacle. We had round 18 out here against Melbourne High. And at half time, sorry, I'll rewind a bit.
Yeah.
The rule that day was you have to go and hire the outfit.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
we've got a photo of me addressing that team in full dress. And Jimmy Barnes has arrived.
Hang on, mate, we'll turn it off. No caller ID, you don't talk
Barnes
to.
has arrived. So that included our trainers.
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
trainers,
yeah, the girls
our girl
were all-
trainers were all decked
yeah.
up. We're 6 goals behind at half time, so I gave them a little bit of a serve about taking the piss, and it had gone to their head. And the second half was for reserve grade footy, and what we're in then A grade.
Yeah,
Was I'll bandy the word around elite.
it was.
So they kicked about 9 unanswered goals and did it on their ear.
And what that performance that day, they probably would have beaten the two bottom sides in A-grade seniors who
They
were
would have.
relegated that year.
They would have.
That's how good it was and how good a side it was.
That's what we wanted, the depth for Owie. And what was the back end of 2-11, we got beaten by Collegians in the grand final. So we're talking about depth.
Yeah,
We had Owie's A-grade team in the grand final, lowered their colours that day, and our reserve grade doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. So I think Owie and Sammy and his other assistant coaches that year were sick of me. I'd put 13 magnets on the board every week for discussion, not one or two. So that's why we had the depth, and it was a fantastic team. And they were just a little bit stiff on the day against Collegians and had their colours lowered.
Yep. So let's skip it for a few years now. Your reserve grade coaching career finished, and you did coach your son to a under 13 premiership.
Yeah.
Through that, which we won't really go into, but
don't have to.
you then take on the director of coaching role here at St Bede's Mentone to develop all the junior coaches into what we aspire every coach to be.
Spot on. So very, very proud of what we've been able to roll out, and we've now been able to get that role to a point where Jay Oliver, who was also one of our under-19 line coaches, and another bloke called Marcus Mooney, who's a fantastic clubman and a terrific football man, have taken on a dual coaching coordinator role across, and the way we've split it is Jay does the younger generation up to and including under 12s, and don't forget now, since before when I started it, that now encompasses our ever-growing and very exciting girls footy program. So we coach the same progressive curriculum across the boys and the girls, going all the way through to our under-17s coach, a young man by the name of Lucas Barrett.
Who will be on this show before the year's out.
Yes, indeed, and I'll look forward to that one. So that way we have a progressive, layered approach to our coaching. The coaches buy into it big time, all the way down to with our little tackers, rotational policies, positional rotational policies, the development of each and every player regardless of talent, which is a forever moving jigsaw puzzle, but with those coordinators and the coaches, and it took quite a few years to get everyone on the same page, which it does at community sport. But if there's a legacy I'm going to leave at St Bede's Mentone, that's something I'm extremely proud of. And Jay and Marcus are doing a marvellous job in bringing that forward to the next level. And with me sitting in the background, and what I said to them is, don't go and reinvent the wheel, boys. Anything you come up against, we've probably had it before. We've got documentation and policy that supports it, and that's the easy way. It's not someone's opinion. It's documentation, it's documented, we've got policy that supports it, we can produce that to a coach or a parent, and everyone just gets on with it. So last little bit on that, what we've found with our junior program for our boys and our girls is that our club is now very much a destination club. Boys and girls are leaving other clubs, and we want them to leave for the right reasons, but they're landing here at St Bede's Mentone Tigers. So great examples are our under 17 Div 1 boys, and I won't go through them all of course.
We don't have time, mate.
No, and our under 18 Div 1 girls, which are really, really exciting at the minute under the tuition of Lucas Barrett, we mentioned with the 17s, and a young lady named Beck D, who's become a very, very accomplished coach in her own right, and her assistant coach Maddie Tilley with these under 18 Div 1 girls. It's pretty exciting stuff.
So at the end of 2018, you decided it was maybe time that you made the step to coach in your own right again.
Yes.
So once it's in your system, it never goes out of your system. And so you're back this year coaching as head coach of our under 19s.
Yes.
Who currently find themselves after last weekend just having snuck into the fourth spot.
Yep. So it's been quite rewarding so far, and with that, you probably say that those that don't know me that well might be looking and go, oh, this guy just coaches and goes around it. But I spent the last 6 years at the Sandringham Dragons in the TAC program. So really, really good learning environment there, fantastic exposure, lots of travel. You play Murray Bush Rangers away at Wangaratta on a Sunday afternoon, that's pretty exciting. So probably went as far as I could go there, besides being a head coach at TAC level, which is virtually a full-time job in itself, and the opportunity here at St Bede's Mentone, where we think it was an opportunity for one to roll out a program that is probably, and I'll say this respectfully to our neighbouring and opposition clubs, probably at a different level to what is usually found at community level under 19 football, and that goes for the coaches as well. So we have, it was mentioned last week, it looks like a cast of thousands, but what we're trying to set up is...
Silly me said that.
That's all right, that's, and from the outside looking in, that's what it looks like.
Well, you were away and it was a cast of thousands to take your spot.
So we're very passionate about setting up is succession planning and talent pathways for both our players, and a lot of organisations don't really think about that for their coaches. So we've got a group of coaches there that are all capable of coaching that in their own right. So we're running a pretty tight ship. We have some pretty robust conversations. We don't have arguments, everyone gets on really well. There's a game plan that they coach. We've got the 4 phases of the game that they coach really well. That's contest, obviously in dispute, when we've got the ball, when we haven't got the ball we call it pressure, and when the ball is in a stoppage. And that these under 19 boys
have now, having watched them the last 2 weeks, with the seniors having a bye, I really think they have actually bought in to what you're trying to teach them, and their football is a lot better than what I saw early in the year.
Yeah, we've got really good improvement across the group, regardless of talent. And what I'm very, very pleased to say to Tom is that with this group of boys, they won their first 2 games, then they lost 4, but 2 of them were nail biters. So there's a thing the group's got something. So they really play for each other, but it was always going to take a while to teach what we're teaching to them, rather than just let them run out and play. And now we've got I'm a big believer in system v talent. They're playing a system, and they've got a lot of faith in it. And under pressure, they're not resorting back. They're actually sticking fat to it. So exciting times ahead. But I don't even look at the ladder. I'm an old-fashioned coach.
I did, mate. So I know where you're sitting.
I go 1 week at a time, and we have Trinity away this week, and that is a must-win. Trinity is always very slick, but our boys get to play on the big ground out at Trinity, which should suit our boys. We've got some really good running players, and we've got some fantastic balance.
Now, a couple of questions to finish off with. One serious question, and then a bit of humour, because you know I like my humour. Through all this, through your career, etc., do you actually have aspirations in your own mind still to take on a senior coaching role somewhere?
Darby here again.
My wife, she can
But
no, not Barney's not here again. It's a serious question. camera.
Alright.
Alright.
So Tom's serious question,
So
serious
not
answer.
to take away from that, a serious question.
It's a serious
Coaching
question.
aspirations.
And we've had and that's why I've sort of been around the block a few times. We've had a couple of goes at it. I don't mind saying. At the end at Old Brighton there, Dale moved on. He went across to Old Scotch of all places. Yeah. And I thought that job was mine, so twice I missed out there and basically packed up shop for a little while. I had a very young family at that stage, and then amateur icon, who's our current reserves coach, Russell Barnes, asked me to come back in 2003 and do his fitness and his senior assistant coach, which was great experience with Barnes. So the aspirations are there, but at the same time I'm very, very St Bede's Mentone Tigers club orientated. We have a fantastic senior coach by the name of Michael Hazel. So who knows what happens next year. If Hayes wants me to coach with him, or if he wants me to do the same role or whatever. But the fire still burns. I think I've got the expertise and I've certainly got the experience.
Very good. Now, you've already mentioned some of the outstanding players that you've played with. Let's add the humour and against. Add the humour to it. Some of the characters that you've met around this place and at Old Scotch and Sandy Dragons, wherever.
Yes, there's a few.
Yeah.
There's a few. I think one at the moment he's a great mate of mine as well. So I qualify that. He's that we opened with it. We talked about that '93 grand final. There's a bloke called Mark Jones, wears number 9. We've got the privilege of coaching his young fellow Kane, who also wears number 9, and is a very, very accomplished young player. Very important to our plans in the 19s. But if you have a close look at their famous '93 premiership photo, you'll see Mad doesn't drink beer. He's nicknamed Mad. Yeah. We won't tell the normal story about Mad that everyone makes up.
No, you can't put that on.
So what we will do, if you take a very close look at that famous photo, Mad's got his little Bundy and Coke just underneath the flag. So there's one of the great characters, and his support this year of us and our coaching and what we're doing has been fantastic. I used to have conversations with Mad after games. He goes, "What are you eating a banana for? What's that going to do to you?"
Yeah, so he'd reckon his Bundy and Coke would be better than a banana.
So old school, but geez, he got the best out of his body, and he was a seriously good player. And I reckon he would have had 40 possessions in that grand final. So he was a standout, whatever the medal was called back then, but the Norm Smith medal winner. So regards to Mad, you're a star, mate.
And he's own a character for all your
time,
look,
there's hundreds of them. Yeah, hundreds of them, Tom. I talked about Walshy before. Walshy was, running around in that grand final photo with a towel around him. And there's some stuff that you can't say on M-rated. What's this? G-rated.
Some of the kids watch this. We've got a cult following, so it's G-rated.
So Walshy was an absolute ripper. Lots of stories there. We had one where, geez, we'd get locked up if we did this now, but I'll tell you quickly. That group I had in '97. Now this is reserves footy back then, and they got beaten. No, was it '96? '96 that first year, and Walshy dropped back and played a couple in the reserves. He hurt his ankle or something like that. I said, "Righto, Walshy, bugger these blokes. They got beaten. I'm going to make them train at 6 o'clock in the morning." Not thinking anyone would turn up. Well, Walshy got them all to turn up. And I reckon they'd been out until about 5.
Bring a beer with them.
They'd been out until about 5, and as the be a few complaints these days, Walshy had all the old-fashioned, on the top of the lamppost, all the lights were on. Brindisi was in full flight, lights on the whole lot. So I made them run 4 laps and they went home.
The old Pete Davis wouldn't have been happy with the lights being on.
I don't think he
Now, before we go, mate, we'll move into last week's results, where your side 8-14-62 defeated Uni Blues 2-7-19 in absolutely atrocious conditions we had down here. We had Melbourne's 4 seasons in one day, I think. We had sunshine early in the morning, and then we had rain. Then during the game we had hail.
We did.
We weren't as bad as Ringwood, where the whole ground was white, but it was white down here a couple of times. Yeah. So we kicked 8-14-62 to defeat Uni Blues 2-7-19 and take their spot in the final 4 at this stage, with Tommy Grech kicking 2, Caleb Miller 2, Harris Cowden. I know Miller, how could he have done that? Never mind. Best players: Lockie Willie, Jake Fletcher, Simon Main, Jackson Cowden, Benny Goodchild,
Yep.
and Luke Goddard.
That's
Good
all.
player, Luke Goddard.
Yes, and in those sort of wins, we really quickly
Yeah.
talk about that. Those sort of wins, and the way I'm coaching this team and the buy-in from these players is when Tom asked me for the best 6, when they win like this, and this has been the case when they beat old Ivanhoe out there,
Yeah.
I can name 16 best players because I'm really big about players playing their role, team first footy, selfless footy, work for one, and that's the way we run our votes. We don't run the 6-5-4-3-2-1. We run.
Yeah. That's going to be a nightmare
No,
for
it'll be
me
right.
when I have
It'll
to
be
tally them
right.
all up at the end of the year.
You'll be right. We run
Yeah.
a system that recognises players for their role and then their impact on the game.
Yeah, well, that's good. I like that system,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, the VAFA computer doesn't
we'll sort
allow
it
us
out.
to put
I'll help you.
16 in.
I'll help you. We'll do it on a spreadsheet. But
In,
that was a really important win for our boys. Uni Blues, when we played them away, they're a big. There's a lot of they have obviously with the uni
Country
team, they have
boys.
boys that come in from the country and play. They've got some serious talent. Our boys were up for the challenge, and I was very, very pleased that they all bought into the plan. So Uni Blues are certainly not to be dismissed despite that score line. They've got some serious talent. We don't take any opposition lightly. We've got an internal thing that or externally, we're very humble and respectful to the opposition. Internally, our players, we keep that internal because this will go online and people might watch it. So
Correct.
there's certainly a different approach from the players internally.
We have followers everywhere, so don't say anything nasty.
No, not at all.
Correct.
No, we're very humble and respectful to all of our opposition.
And in our under-19 development squad, South Melbourne Districts 10-8-68, we're just a little bit too strong for us, 8-7-55, with Liam Carey kicking 4, Dingle, Dye, Freeman, Fisher and Writer 1 apiece.
Yep.
Better players were Fisher, Ball, Dingle, Dye, Writer, Slaven and Sosser.
Yep.
So the boys, they haven't won as many games as probably you and Dan would have liked them to, but
No.
they are improving, and a lot of them have come up and had a crack up
They have.
at your level and have acquitted themselves pretty well.
They have. I'll probably talk about these boys more than our under-19 Div 1 team. I could talk about each and every individual player, but they hear enough of my voice every week. We'll do their review tomorrow night, and they'll hear it more. But that's really starting to work. We're seeing what they're doing well and what they need to improve on. So just on those names there's a young man I want to give a special mention to. His name's Lachlan Fisher. Now we put him on both team sheets on the weekend with the intention of playing him half down at South Melbourne. He's certainly in our plans. He's a big-bodied mid, or he can also play as a hybrid forward.
He's coming back from an injury too.
Yeah, he's just had a horrific run with injuries for this year. So I just want to send a special shout out to Lockie and make sure you see this, mate, because we're really keen to get you back on the paddock. But he played 100 minutes down at South Melbourne, then he came back up here, and we couldn't put him out there for long because the poor kid was cooked. He played 100 minutes at South, but a couple of really important contests against Uni Blues. So that's the same. We've got a couple of other long-term injury players. Our players are very inclusive. There's a rehab group goes on. We've got a boy named Ryan Gray that had a serious injury earlier in the year. He's another one that I played footy with his dad that I've got the pleasure of coaching. And Ryan's actually just started to run again, which is great news.
Is Zach Watson going to get back?
Watto's he's starting to train again. He had a shoulder reconstruction, so he's a new boy to our club, but he's a 17-year-old team manager when Tom's not available. So thanks very much, Zach. You're a star.
Well, I was available last week, and he thought you'd given him the Tijuana brass.
No, none of that.
Hey?
He's a good man, young Zach. There's one other boy in there I want to mention. There's a boy named Will Dingleday. He came across from Bay Morris with 2 of his mates.
Love that name.
Now he broke into our senior team in round 2. He's a serious athlete, and he can play, but he's doing year 12 up at St Bede's College. He's had a few injuries, but as I keep saying to Will and his mates that came across, we're not really interested in keeping them this year. We'd like them to be 10-year St Bede's Mentone Tiger players. So we're making a big investment in all of these players, regardless of where they're playing. They're playing the same game style, and I'll leave it with this. We've coached it all year. We have a theme, and it's called One Group, 2 Teams.
run Group 2 teams a lot. And you've got young Bally still to come back in there too, haven't you?
He's just been sneaking along with his rehab, so
Yeah.
it's another, those that don't know, it's another one of our very, very good players by the name of Adam Ball,
Yep.
who broke his leg in round 3. So he is just about ready to resume. So it's been a long, arduous rehab for Adam, but he hasn't missed a session. So that's hats off to him. He's a star.
Very quickly, our 2 women's sides also took the field last weekend, last Sunday actually, out at Xavier College,
Yep.
where they played Old Zavs, and our senior side 4-10-34 went down to Old Zavs 4-10-34 defeated our girls at 1 point, and in the reserves Zavs 13-16-94 defeated St Bede's 0-0-0. Moving on to this week. This week the seniors take the field after 2 weeks off. It's almost a month since the 29th of June, Bradley, since they played.
Only the 19s played Tommy in those weeks.
That's right. And they come up against Beau Morris in the local derby out here in a very, very important game for the seniors, especially because 4th spot is on the line. So it's like winner take all, no excuses this one.
There'll be no holds barred, the old St Bede's and Bowie game.
So hopefully the boys have enjoyed their break and are fired up and ready to go for that game and haven't put on too much of that pudding that Brownie's carrying over there.
That'll be all right.
And the ladies, women of St Bede's, are having their annual ladies' lunch here on Saturday, and I'm taking the punt, Brad, with the microphone for next week's Tiger TV, and going in amongst the ladies at the lunch to do a roaming Tommy.
Oh, well, roaming Tommy, I'm sure.
So whether I get out of there alive or not, I don't know. But
I think that'll be very interesting and very entertaining, and probably a whole lot more entertaining than this old coach sitting here. But hopefully you've enjoyed my company.
Of course,
tonight.
they might give me a little bit of humour, the girls, after they've had a couple of lines. Who knows what might happen? And you guys travel out to Trinity to take on Old Trinity in another important must-win game, and Dan, the development boys, go out to Therry. Long way out of Therry.
So Dan's
and the ladies have a bye.
Yeah.
So a few of them might be in at the lunch as well.
Good on them. I'll put this, and it's like Alan, his coaching team, and the girls. Don't forget, it's their first year of having the 2 teams.
Yep.
And I'm sure Al spoke about it in detail last week. But
he did, and they were dealt a terrible fate by the VAFA and having to go up out of their depth.
We're right behind them. We've got a couple of their key players injured, so it's like any one of our other teams. We go with the good and the bad. They'll get some of their injured players back very, very soon. Their squad, as we speak, is down at an organisation named Berry Fitness 24/7 on the boxing bag. So they're working hard to get back on the winners list. So
bit of recovery.
Terrific bunch, and very, very well coached by Alan and his team, as we know. He does a great job.
All right, well, Brad, thanks very much for giving up your time this afternoon. I know you're a very, very busy man, and you now have to go back to work. It's been a very insightful interview, so thanks very much, mate, and good luck for the rest of the year.
Thanks very much, Tom. Absolute pleasure. It's not giving out my time at all. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Hopefully you'll invite me back.
Indeed.
Cheers.
And we will be back next weekend with whatever happens with Roman Tommy on Saturday.